my opinion, of Leagues of Votann from 10th edition and 9th. Basically, I played Warhammer since I was, like a brief history here, but I played it when I was 6. I played all the way until 16, 18, and then stopped because I couldn't find anyone. And then these bad boys came out, and I thought, this is it, worth a punt to try these guys again. I didn't really know the rules as much as I used to. I used to play when like in 4th or 5th, and I came back with these guys thinking, yeah, I know what I'm doing. They've been quite interesting. They had quite an interesting way of playing. They had the beam weapon. They had really good stats basically for 9th. The judgment token I thought was hilarious because you could judge pretty much everyone. Because why not? But yeah, now looking at it, I think they're still really good. I think they've just lost a bit of the identity. Really, that's how I've seen it. I've played a few games. I think the fact that in 9th you had like this small, tiny elite army, and I say small in a non-pun way, and basically, yeah, they do their job. I love them to pieces. I love dwarves. I've always loved dwarves. But looking at like just everything they did, like you've got the go with the Eye of the Ancestors rule. The whole judgment token thing I thought was quite good. Changing it with +1 to hit and +1 to wound if you had 2 judgments. However, I thought getting rid of the third one was a bit odd because you had all these tokens that people had bought, and there's a third one on there. I think they could have easily done the third one with, just done judgment token 3 and wrote +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and you get to reroll your hits if they've got a third judgment token. Because something I've noticed with lots of armies, they've got rerolls, and Votann didn't really get given rerolls, so I thought that'd be cool. I wouldn't change anything else. Just having that third judgment token would be nice. I thought that'd be good. And then you've got the Ruthless Efficiency. I think this is fine. I think when they brought this out, this was fine. Gives you the momentum to try and rush and get the free CP and kill something early. My only problem with it is you're trying to move a slow army with short range weapons to try and kill something in turn 1 when the board is now like double the size. But again, I've actually had games where I've managed to kill a unit in the first turn from just being lucky with positioning and me going first, basically. And then you've got the stratagems they released, the difference of these. I thought these were fine. I thought reactive reprisal was nuts now with the fact that you can shoot and then basically shoot again in your turn, whereas before you shot in your turn in their turn when they were shooting you, apologies, and then basically you weren't allowed to shoot in your turn because you've basically done it in theirs. But that's a massive bonus. You've got like Warrior Pride, I think is really cool. I mean, rushing berserks, for example, and then popping that with a double judgment. You're doing what, -4 AP with hammers, 4 with axe. Like you can delete a unit if you're lucky enough. The sustain hits ancestral sentence. I mean, getting sustain hits 1 or sustain hits 2 is unbelievably strong, especially when you give it to like Hearthkin Warriors on a +5. You can basically get your CP back. So not only are you getting an extra, crap load of shots, you then get your CP back, which I think's nuts. Ordered retreat, I think's okay. Fall back and shoot's good. I mean, for an army that was trying to be a bit Space Marine-y and be all around, their Votann are shooty. They're just shooty, so it's quite good that you can fall back and shoot. But because of the new stratagem with Overwatch, I mean, you fall back and shoot, and then they just Overwatch. So it depends on what you Overwatch with. If you try and fall back against Flamers, I mean, might as well say goodbye to your unit because Flamers are really, really strong against Votann, especially. Oh, I've missed one there. The other one's Void Armor. I don't know why we got rid of this. To get reduced AP by 1 is good, but they should really have kept the other part of Void Armor, which is the rerolls to wound. Why not keep it? I think having that as a stratagem would be really good because that means your Hecaton, for example, getting shot at, and you can be like no rerolls to wound, and you got the -1. I think it'd just be just up the CP to 2. I think that would be more scary. I don't know. I think other people have probably got different mindsets on it. Newfound Nemesis. I don't really use it, but I think it's what your opponent's shooting all 5 phase just after the enemy resolves its attacks. Uh, if it's below half strength, give it another judgment. It's naff. I mean, half the time when I've played games, my unit's either dead or only lose 1 or 2. Yeah, I think it's a bit naff, that one. What's this? The enhancements are still quite good. Wayfarer's Glaze is good. Grim Demoriner is good. Rerolling Battle Shock. I mean, Battle Shock's an interesting new mechanic of their morale system, but it does affect Votann when you want the stratagems are strong for Votann, so not having Battle Shock's monstrous. You've got Praising Glare, which is now really good because they've changed obviously the wording of it. This is like an old one. And the long list, rubbish. You have to kill a unit with that model only, and your champion is nowhere near strong. Carl doesn't ever kill a unit. Maybe if you gave it to a Grimnir and his psychic abilities, because they're D3 damage or something. But yeah, that's just what it is. Uthar the Destined, I don't even want to talk about him. He's shit. He's just changing this ancestral fortune. He can only change his rolls into a 6, and it's just like, what's the point with him? He does 2 damage max. Leader of the Votann, and he's 90 points, and he just doesn't make any effect on the battlefield. And he's the same model as a Carl. I just think it's a shame, but he just hasn't got any sort of value at all at the moment. But compared to 9th, he was at least something to worry about because he could just make a Hecaton shoot his Magnum Rail, and then you're thinking, oh, I'm a bit buggered. But now it's just like, honestly, it's such a shame. It's like we've got a small model range as it is, and I think most players won't even pick him. So he's a cool model still, but no one wants him. And then Carl's just better. It's just better. Gives lethal hits. Judgment token, same rule there. Gives everyone invuns 5+ because Votann have no invuns. Give it the Mass Gauntlet, 3 damage. It's already better, like without question. And you get 2 different choices of weapon. And that's the other thing. It's like Vulcanite Disintegrator is the only thing Uthar can have, and it's the same as everyone else's Vulcanite Disintegrator. So, what does that make him? Just another copy of a Carl, just a different option of a Carl, and is actually worse. So it's just what it is, and he can join the same as Uthar, which is the Hearthguard and the Warriors. I mean, Champ, Hammer Boy, my beloved. I miss his old hammer. I mean, he's still got a nasty D6+1 with it, but no devastating wounds. Nothing. Like, he's got mortals when he charges in with his accelerators, if they get into combat. And then you can either choose to deep strike with him, which means he loses his 4+ invuln, or you don't deep strike him and he's moving at 5 inches and he's got a 4+ invuln, but he doesn't give it to the rest of his unit. So it's an interesting one, because where is it here? The Wayfield crest can be replaced with the teleport crest. So you're choosing between a 4+ invuln or a deep strike. And for HQ not to have an invuln, especially when all you want to do is go into combat with things that will guarantee take 2 AP off or 4 AP, whatever it will be. I just think that's a massive blow. Grimnir, he's an interesting one. I think he's still quite good. I think giving +1 toughness to Hearthkin Warriors is amazing. Toughness 6, 10-man unit for 100 and plus the Grimnir is like 175 points. So Yeah, and he can stop battle shocks and stuff, so he's actually quite a good choice. He's okay in combat, but his psychic's really good for 24-inch range for 3 attacks, which you can make hazardous and have 6. Strength 6 -2, D3 damage. He could have you. He could absolutely have a unit. So I think he's actually quite good, even though, and he's got a permanent invuln as well, so he's good. Oh, Brochure Master. I used to love him for his Warlord trait to negate damage on like vehicles and whatnot, but his healing's poor. Also, to only give +1 to hit with his visor, it's just ah. When you've got a judgment token that already gives you +1, why did they do that? Why was it not +1 to their ballista skill? Or he gives +1 to wound, because then you could shoot something and you got 1 token on it. You've got +1 to hit, and then he's giving the +1 to wound. It gives you a nicer feeling to pick him as a model. He's either going to be near a vehicle to give it D3 loss wounds, or he's going to be, or he heals up to 3 instead if he's still got his assistant, and you can only repair it once per turn. So he's okay. He's still got all those like little stats with like his anti-vehicle, for example, is okay, but it's a strength 5 weapon, so you're relying on shooting only vehicles with him, and then the rest of his unit is pointless because if you shoot anything else, they've got no strength whatsoever on them. So it's a bit of a weird hit and miss. You either shoot a unit that you can wound okay with the gravitation rifle, or you shoot a vehicle which has ridiculous toughness now, because that's what they've changed with things, and the rest of the unit is pointless because you're just throwing dice and hoping for the best. And then he can go with Hurricane Warriors or Thunderkin. And I mean, you only go with Thunderkin, or you just put it next to a Hecaton Land Fortress. Bloody hell, Warriors have got everything, don't they? Making things sticky is pretty awesome, especially for a slow-moving army. But they gave every other army sticky with units, so I don't see the point. It loses its bonus because Space Marines can move 7 inches or 6 inches, and they make things sticky. So not only are they moving quicker than you, they're doing the exact same ability. So, that ignoring cover is great though. The scanner, I think the scanner is like one of those ones where you you're glad you don't have to pay the points for, because I think that's really strong and it takes away a lot of discussion in the game. People go, oh, what are we gonna determine this cover or this cover, and you can gonna go, doesn't matter, I ignore it. Comms raise fine. On a 5+, you get your stratagem back, or the CP back at least. Metapack, what's it? It used to be guarantee save 1 model, and now it's 6 up, feel no pain. The 6 up, feel no pain, I think is pointless. I think I've saved maybe, out of the many games I've had, I've probably saved about 4 guys relying on 6s. But it's good against mortals. I mean, it used to be you couldn't stop mortals, and now you can. But I think it should be a 5+. Bump them up to 135 points or something, and then make them a 5+. Feel no pain. The weapons are fine. I think nearly every weapon's good for its points value. Magna Rail's fine with its, but I mean, losing all the range as well. I mean, what the highest range here is 24 inch. Like, I'm moving 5 inches, so 29 inches I have here, and I can guarantee you that nearly every other army will either have an inch or longer reach on you. So if someone was clever enough and understood measurement, they could really abuse the fact that your guys will never reach, because they could go back 6, shoot, and you could probably move and probably still not be in range if they kept that 1 inch gap or further. And then Wayfield Crest for the sergeant, pointless again, because it only gives him the invuln, and I mean, by the time, unless you're going to be that sort of player who rolls 1 dice at a time and relies on the 4+ invuln to save your entire unit, I mean, you're not going to get many games, in my opinion. So it's a bit of a shame, but it's one of those ones. I mean, we had it in ninth, and I still found it pointless. And then you've got the Hearthguard, probably the best unit we've got at the moment. 150 points for 5, toughness 6, 2 wounds. Same game with the invuln. You either have the invuln or you can teleport. You can't have both. So, it's one of those weird ones again. You can either have an invuln or you have no invuln and rely on your 2+ save. But people have got high AP and your units get minced if it's AP free because it's 5+. And then you've got the weapons. I mean, the Plasma Blade Gauntlet, it's got its height, it's got 2 AP, but it's the same as the Gauntlet. What's very strange is the Hammer's got -1 AP, but the Gauntlet's got -2, and it's a bit like they're both called concussion weapons, yet the Hammer's weaker, but you get an extra attack, but you do more damage. So you do more damage, but it's less piercing, but the Gauntlet's more piercing. So I find that a bit strange. Plasma Gun's good, 24-inch. Grenade launcher lost 6 inches, which I thought was mental. It's a grenade launcher. If you're going to make two things 18-inch, make the plasma gun 18 and make the grenade launchers 24. That makes more sense to me. Bodyguard, so subtract 1 from the rune roll. I don't know. They're good for their points. They're good for their points. For what they get for their points, they're very good. And that's why everyone is using them at the moment. And then obviously you can pair them up. But, oh god, I don't really want to talk about these guys. They upset me so much. Really cool unit, Caphonium Berserks, but shit. It's the best way. Feel No Pain 5+ with a 6+ armor save. So no matter what you're using the Feel No Pain. Obviously, the only way of using these guys is putting them in the Sagittor. Fight on Death got removed and now it's a 4+ to get them back. So you've got 50-50. I know they're 100 points, but naff. It's naff. All of it's naff. They've got 2 wounds that makes them a little bit better, but there's no re-rolls to charge with them, even though they're the only melee focus unit in the Votann's arsenal. But subterranean explosives is quite good. Reducing on a 4+. They are shaken and they lose 2 in their movement and 2 in their advance and charge. However, you have to get it on a 4+. So it's 50-50 again. Like, you've got 2 abilities here, and you're relying on chance that they go off, that you can use them. So you pay for the unit, and then you go, oh, they've got all these abilities, but I'm relying on a roll of a dice. Whereas lots of other armies will have, Chaos Warriors have got rerolls to wound on a 1, rerolls wounds of 1 if they're not on objective, and if they're on objective, they've got rerolls to wound, and that's for the basic bog standard Chaos Marines, as an example. Whereas my elite force of Custodian Berserkers have abilities, if you're lucky. The Hearthguard Pioneers I still think are really good. If they've got stealth, you've got +1 to hit. The guns are still really good. You get loads of shots still. Obviously, the range all got reduced by 6 inches for most part. Movement 12, toughness 6. They've got Scout 9+, and they can go back into Strategic Reserve. I think they're still very good for their points value. I think they're 80 points or 90. They're 90. They're definitely 90. I just don't get it. They lost the wound if you had the extra gun, so it's a bit odd. Unless it says it here. Oh no, it does. There you go. So they kept it. I haven't been playing that. I just assumed in 10th they got rid of it because of all the new stuff. But if they've kept it, which they have, which is fine. And if you're going to pick one of these things to keep, I would keep the 2. I'd keep the Searchlight and the Pan Scanner. I wouldn't do the Comms Ray because again it's a 5+. But I don't think you need the stratagems on these guys. They've got enough guns. You get to shoot shotgun, either the beamer and the rotary cannon, and the Magna Rail autocannon. So you've got enough shooting to not need to give them more shooting when there's other units that probably need the boost to get a kill, whereas I believe this unit can do the damage. I mean, you wouldn't pick the beamer anyway because it only does 1 damage and you get half the shots. Yes, you get sustained hits D3, but you're relying on 6s. Whereas you've got 6 shots with the rotary cannon and sustained hits 1, so you're more likely to get the sustained hits with that over the beamer. Yeah, and there's not much with the strength either, and you've got +1 to wound with your judgment, so that's not going to make a huge difference. Oh, the saggy tour is good. It's fine. It's a dedicated transport though, which means you have to have a unit in this tank to deploy it. Which means if you don't want your berserks, you've got to have 2, so that's 200 points off your list, and it has to go. You have to put your Hearthcode Warriors in them, which is splitting a unit at 10, which makes them, in my opinion, just not valuable at all. Blistering Advance is good though. Being able to advance and move and still deploy a unit is fantastic because technically you can use 2 of them, fly up, deploy them behind terrain, keep them in cover, move up the board much quicker, and they've got Scout 6. You're moving 18 inches basically before the start of the game, and they're allowed to move normally. So 23 inches you've got right at the offset, so it is quite good. And all their guns are fine. The Sagittor missile launcher, if you use this choice instead of the L7, strength 12 -3, 3 damage is monstrous with this tank. It's also got the beam cannon, which is strength 12, and it's D6 damage. So you've got 2 really good ones there. You don't need the autocannon, just give it to the Pioneers if you use them in your list. And then obviously you can now contain 6 because obviously you need to be able to, if you've got the Carl leading them or something, you can put them in there. Won't be able to put a Grimnir because Grimnir has 2 cogs and they count as model still, and it's the same with the Brokier Iron Master. And it's very annoying. Rages me greatly. Thunderkin, oh, one of my favourite. I always use them. Mainly because you've got the bolt cannon, blast cannon, and the beamer, and I've done it in a few of my lists. You have 1 of each unit with 1 of each gun. It covers everything that you would want in a game. You've got a short range gun that can absolutely demolish vehicles. You've then got a mid range gun that has high damage and a lovely sustain hits rule, which is on a 4+, so a 50-50 if they're beyond 12, which you always hope with these guys. And they've just got a nasty high damage output. I mean, yes, it's got low AP, but if you shoot them at Terminators, they're on a 3+ armor save. If they fail any, you're deleting Terminators. So I always take that risk. It doesn't always pay off, but there is that option. And then you've got the bolt cannon, which is long range, sustain hits, lots of shots, and it's got 2 damage as well, so it's actually not that bad for what it does. And that's the longest range gun the Votann have now. So I think they're very good. And they've got a 5+ with the Overwatch. They're 75 points. For me, they're no-brainers at the moment. Absolutely love them. Oh, my favourite boy. The Hekaton Land Fortress. I think even now it's still very good. And for its points, which is what, 225? Give it the scanner, ignores cover, you're near enough deleting units. You know, the conversion beamer's unreal because it's got the sustain hits T3, it's got 2 shots, it does flat 4 damage, which is mental. I still use the Hekaton rail cannon because why not? Strength 18, it's a load of laugh. It's got -4 AP, D6 + 6. Like, that is monstrous. So I think the Hekaton is a beautiful thing, and it's the only vehicle that lets you have re-rolls. So you can put your Thunderkin with anti-vehicle, drop them out, shoot a vehicle, and have re-rolls to wound, which is 2+. That is insane. So they've still got really good stuff. Like, I mean, that we've lost identity with beam weapons and just what they do as a whole, but some of the things they can do with shooting is still there as a bam kind of scenario. I mean, I always take two at least. These guys are amazing. I absolutely love the Hecaton Land Fortress. If I had a choice, I'd always do three. But people say it's too much or it's too easy to counter because obviously you lose board control. But I don't care. Obviously, each to their own. Everyone's got their own tactic. Some work better than others. I just think these bad boys, the more the merrier. Why would you not want a big tank? Especially when you're like a mining colony dwarves. You know, you want to compensate for the size you are. You know, so that's what I think with those bad boys. And then got, and that's it. I thought there was more. Why did I think there was more? I've been playing these guys for a year. I've got like 4,000 points in 10th with these guys. Well, overall, I think they're good. I just think they've lost just a few things with them. I think how I've played with them, how I've seen them change. I think when the next model range comes out for them in 10th, I'll give more of an in-depth idea of what I think because that will determine if this faction and this, I don't know, play style that you can have with Votann. I want to see how they kind of expand on it. I'm not going to change army. I don't think that's ever fun. I like testing out new armies, but I think with Votann, I want to stick with them because I love dwarves, and these are space dwarves. Like it ticks all the boxes for me. So fingers crossed. But I'm hoping that these bad boys show their true colours in 10th. Because at the moment, I'm very mixed with them. But I love them to pieces. It's like a love-hate relationship already with them. And they've only been out for, what, a year? But we'll, we have to see. We have to see. But I hope you enjoyed my intake of them. I think with these guys, I think every 40k fan will hope that these guys will do their part and become another cemented faction in this game that I love. So please, Games Workshop, for the love of God, don't ruin them, or there'll be a grudging.